Two other matters, and doctors who change gender are being issued new registration details that scrub their public disciplinary history from the record, it was claimed last night. Now, you're usually, as patients, able to search the GMC, which is the General Medical Council's official register, using your clinician's name and number. Now it's emerged, trans doctors are given new numbers, which means future patients are unable to find details listed under their previous identity, with the GMC confirming if a doctor received a historical sanction, i.e. the suspension is no longer in place, prior to transitioning, this information would not be available on their new public-facing record on the register. This is causing concerns within government. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, said this system needs to be overhauled, and indeed, he goes further, it should never have been allowed. I'll quote, "This is extremely concerning, should not have been allowed to happen. It's completely within the power of the GMC to find a workaround that means transparency for patients as well as protections in the Equality Act are preserved. I expect them to make reassurance they will address this." Well, there's no ifs or buts from Mr. Streeting there, and surely you would agree, wouldn't you? Joanne Lockwood is founder and CEO of See Change Happen, an organisation specialising in bringing transgender awareness, and joins me now. Thank you very much for coming on. Your reaction to this, and indeed the fairly strong line being taken by the Secretary of State for Health. Good morning.
Morning, Nick. Thanks for inviting me back on.
No, at all. Thanks for having coming on. Your view on this, if you would, Joanne.
Well, my view is this isn't about hiding wrongdoing. It's about protecting the privacy of trans individuals in line with existing legal protection under the Gender Recognition Act. I think if a doctor's failed serious disciplinary action, the real issue here is why are they still practicing, not whether this history is visible to the public. You know, we need the GMC to step in here and ensure the doctors are professional and safe.
If I'm a man and I am a man, and I have a particularly invasive procedure that I have to face, do I have the right to know that my doctor has the sex and the gender of a man?
Oh, come on, Nick. You know, if public trust hinges
I asked you a question, Joe.
on whether they're assigned male or female at birth, aren't we missing the bigger picture here?
Well, I asked you, does a woman have the right, if the woman faces a particularly invasive procedure and she would like to know that it is another woman who is examining her in that particular fashion, does she have the right to ensure that a woman is doing that, a female doctor is doing that?
I mean, I completely support the fact that patients have the right to request a doctor of a specific sex. But that doesn't necessarily mean they have the right to expose someone's private history. I think, you know, you're there on the operation theatre, you've been in a serious accident.
Well, no, it's not that so much, is it, Joanne?
Should be recovery.
I'm talking more about perhaps, and you won't need me to go into detail, but particularly for a woman, an invasive procedure, there would be a body of women who would say, actually, if a woman is going to examine me in that area, if a doctor is going to examine me there, I want it to be a woman. And I don't think that's unreasonable. Do you?
I think, you know, we all the time we're listening to these debates now about meritocracy. Surely what we're after here is the best person for the job, the best person who's going to
isn't the patient
deliver me the best outcome.
Aren't the patient's interests of any importance here?
Of course, but the patient presumably wants to live. The patient wants the best track record of survival. So what we're after here is the best.
Let me spell it out. The patient is a woman, and I don't think I'm rare in saying this. A woman wants an internal examination done by another woman. I doubt I'm on a wild wing here out there on the World Wide Web thinking that. And you're suggesting the woman should be told, no, we've just got the best doctor. It doesn't matter what sex at birth.
You're putting words into my mouth.
Well, so you do agree then?
No, I'm agreeing that people have the right to request a doctor of a specific sex.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean they have the right to expose someone's private history.
I don't want to expose it, but I just want to know, or I don't currently have one, I just want my wife to know that it is another woman who's going to give her an internal examination. And you don't think my wife has the right for that?
If that's your wife's preference, then she will make that request to the NHS, and the NHS will, where possible, honour that request. You know, if it's a life-saving situation, and
it's not a life-saving situation. I keep saying that, Joanne. It's an internal.
Well, if it's a routine, then of course that is custom and practice now. Nothing changes. You have the same concerns whether it's a doctor, a nurse, any healthcare professional, or anybody, a counsellor.
Why shouldn't I know the background of my doctor?
Why should you?
Because I might want to know if he or she has had some issues in the past, has possibly had some complaints made. I might like to know that. Why shan't? And I can, unless they're trans. So I am not trans. I currently have no plans. So, Dr. Ferrari, you can find out whether I've ever been accused or indeed found guilty of any improper practice. But if I decide to call myself Nicola Ferrari, you can't. How's that right?
Well, it's almost implying that trans people are doing
just tell me how that's right.
to be,
No, it's not saying that at all.
To obfuscate
no, it's not saying
past
that
history.
at all. It's saying that Dr. Nick Ferrari has against him, quite rightly, a couple of times, female patients have made suggestions, da, 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 da. Dr. Nicola Ferrari, you know nothing about it. How is that right?
Has the GMC decided you're safe to practice?
No, could you answer my question first, Joanne?
Well, if the GMC has declared you're safe to practice,
and I don't
surely
have
that
so
is the
my patients don't have the right to know my background. Knowledge is not power with you.
If the issue is serious, why are they still practicing?
Oh no, if this is serious, I would have been struck off. You're absolutely right. Always enjoy speaking with you, Joanne. Good to have you. Thank you, Joanne Lockwood, founder and CEO of See Change Happen. Listening at 12 after 8, Helen Joyce, who's Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters. Perhaps I can ask you, and without wishing to be too intrusive, if you needed some kind of fairly personal examination of some sort, do you think you have the right to request a woman, a biological woman? Good morning.
Good morning, and yes, I do, and that has happened to me, and I did.
I'm sorry. Right.
So, if a man who identified as a woman was the doctor when I turned up, I would not only feel very angry, but because I know the law around this issue better than Joanne seems to, I would know that this was not acceptable. We do have the right to say who touches us, and we do have the right to say, to set reasonable conditions, and it is recognised in law that a woman who says that she wants to have another woman examine her intimately has the right to do that, and a man who presents himself as a woman and says that he's a woman could be facing very serious charges if he went ahead on that basis, if he knew that the woman had said only another woman could do this procedure.
How concerned are you, as someone who has some of the legal knowledge in this field as well, that doctors can be given what are called scrubbed or clean records?
Very concerned, and honestly, this isn't really an issue just about trans. There are no conditions whatsoever for the GMC to change your registration. Apparently, all you have to do is just say, I have changed my gender. So at least 62 people have done that. We have no idea how sincere those people are. The GMC has said it can't tell us if any of them did actually have historic issues. Joanne seemed to think that if it wasn't something that got you struck off, you didn't need to know it. Actually, if you've been suspended for 3 months or more and you're back practicing, that will appear on your records as a doctor for up to 15 years. So if we think we need to do that for other doctors, then we need to do it for those who say that they changed their gender as well. It's just treating everybody the same here. And a trans person's privacy, in other words, their right to conceal the sex that they actually are, cannot possibly override the conditions of patient safety and our rights as well.
Lastly, to those who say, come on, Helen, we just want the best doctor for the job. We want the person who will make you better, perform the operation, whatever it might be, diagnose a condition. How would you respond?
So in emergencies and in the A&E department and that, if you ask for a woman and there's no woman available, they'll say to you there's no woman available, and it's up to you to say, OK, then I'd have a man. Maybe I want a chaperone with me. But we're talking about the routine millions of procedures that happened a year, you know, smear tests and the like. It's really standard for women to say they want another woman in those situations. And there are lots of doctors. It's not like this is a really scarce thing, like a really specialist cancer or something like that. So it's just a red herring. This is all red herring.
Grateful for your input. Thank you, Helen. Helen Joyce is Director of Advocacy at Sex Matters. There are the two sides. I think particularly, candidly, I think many men couldn't care less. Really, I don't care. I think for women it is a lot more invasive by its very nature. So let's take your views on that. It's 8:15 LBC News.